You're gonna have to prepare yourselves, because since Apollo was in this episode, I must play the 3-count theme. And we all know how much Steven loves the 3-count theme.
I expect to see him dancing again, and Steve, if you don't post a video of you and Ant dancing, I'm gonna be disappointed.
You already made a video, but you got lost.
Make another one!
Alright. You ready, guys?
Alright.
Yeah, ready.
In 5, 4, 3...
Get up on your feet. Put your hands together. Sing along with 3 count. We'll party on forever. We like the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC too. Britney Spears is kind of cute. We watch TRL on MTV. Everybody 3 count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I can see Nate dancing to it right now.
And demonetized.
What is up, Robot Wars fans? Hardcore Kid here, and welcome to another edition of the Hardcore Podcast. To my left, as always, as soon as he's now back in his seat and has stopped dancing and finally calmed down, we have, of course, Otaku Nate.
Holy cow! What a heat!
Absolutely. And since we couldn't just have the two of us in this episode, we had to have at least 3 other guys with us, because let me tell you,
Podcast crossover.
It's the ultimate podcast crossover. Because you know how hard it is to have 2 dudes talk about robots for an hour and a half? Like, I don't know. If I had a drink for all the times I said I don't know in that preview video, you know how many drinks I would have had?
How many would you have had, Brandon?
I don't know! But yeah, we have,
Hey.
Boo!
Terrible.
let's introduce...
You suck.
Let's introduce our special guests. First off, we have yet another fellow Robot Wars reviewer. He's been on our podcast a few times, and both of us have been on his podcast a few times. It is, of course, Jimjamatic.
Behemoth finally won. It finally won! I think the apocalypse is actually going to happen now. Pun intended.
Boom!
Sorry.
And alongside it, since you were so very nice, alongside him we have who's considered Sam Elliott's comic relief, Anderson.
Hello, guys. I'm here.
And while you're
Obviously.
here, Anderson, I wish to register a complaint!
Oh, great. Yeah, comic relief. You're not that funny, Anderson. Comic relief.
I'm here to complain about the parrot that I purchased from this very boutique not half an hour ago.
We're closing for lunch. Oh yes, the Norwegian blue. What's wrong with it?
I'll tell you what's wrong with it, my lad. He's dead. That's what's wrong with it.
No, he's resting.
We're doing the whole sketch.
Is this
wanna
Monty
do the whole
Python
sketch.
podcast now?
Oh, god damn it, Jim. We were hoping to throw you under the bus.
You know, we have a 2-hour limit here, and you're going to spend about 20 minutes of it doing this entire sketch.
Just like Monty Python.
Hey, you know what? The longer the video goes, the more monetization, right?
James, you said you had never seen anything Monty Python, yet you recognized the sketch.
I recognise the famous ones, I've not watched the show in detail, so...
Okay.
You got one of the really obscure, not funny ones.
Well,
yeah, I'm not obscure.
Well, we were planning on
Alright,
getting revenge on you for locking us in the basement.
Yeah, well...
Along with Simon Harrison, Sam Elliott, and the Cleveland Browns.
You can't keep me locked up in the basement. I have an amateur wrestling background and a taekwondo background. I can just kick that door down, no problem.
That's
There's
good
a second door.
Speaking of the basement, that brings us to our final guest.
Oh, fuck you.
Hey, it's all right. I'll put you there, alright?
We have a
I gotta
guy...
say, all the stick you've been giving me the last couple of podcasts, I'm taking this from the fucking brony.
Oh,
At least
excuse
my
me,
movies are good.
princess.
Oh,
Oh no! You're fired. Well, we had to cut him off. That other guest that we had, who we were supposed to have on here, that was in fact Alexthehunted.
Hello.
Oh hey,
All
he's
I can
back!
say is-
Hooray!
All I can say is, Satan is learning how to ice skate. Pigs are learning aviation, and I think I've just become related to a monkey. Behemoth has won a heat.
Yay!
Get the party poppers out.
Took 19 fucking years.
I still can't believe it because their first robot was this little tiny DIY soda stream bottle scoop thing that barely lifted 2 feet off the ground. That all it did was push into the PBZ and go, nope, your problem. And now, 19 years later,
What?
improvements.
Not only did they win, they beat a champion.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the moment I noticed it looked like their luck was about to turn on them was that first match where they just managed to squeak through. It was like, because it ended in a double KO, and I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen here? And then at the very end, it turns out, oh, Behemoth got the decision. And I'm like, well then.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, God bless Anthony. That loss last year was just... I'd say it broke him, and honestly...
Ultimate redemption.
Ultimate redemption. I mean, jeez. But you know what? It really shows that Anthony is still dedicated to this sport, because he's been doing this, I'd say, longer than anybody, because I know there were a couple of years where Terahertz didn't fight on the live circuit, but Behemoth, Anthony, he's been coming back every year since then, and every little time his robot would get better and better, but he just couldn't get over that extra hurdle into the grand final, and boom! He managed to beat the Series 8 champion, and finally made it through to the grand final. Way to go,
And
man.
he beat a team that has beaten him before as well. In the Ian Watts team.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yeah, he's been getting all kinds of redemption. So,
And ironically, similar style to how that team beat Apollo. I mean, when you think about it, got behind it, lifted it up, threw it down the pit. Sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just realized
Quite
that.
ironic.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing how Behemoth does well in the grand final. We'll have to see. It's only the first episode. There's still about 4 more episodes. 4 more
See,
episodes.
it happened for Razor. Do you think it's going to happen for Behemoth?
Well,
I've seen things you wouldn't believe.
Well,
in this series.
All right.
Obviously, the one thing we never got to see from Behemoth was his axe thing. We don't
Yeah, I
really needed
noticed.
the axe, really, but we never saw it in action at all.
We'll probably see it in the grand final.
You never know. If it gets a rematch with Carbide, then obviously the axe will be the thing that kills it. That'll be the number one weapon they
They'll
use.
just they'll do the typical. They'll lift up Carbide and then grab it with the axe and then take it over to the pit.
You know what they should do? That obviously they still have the scoop, so I'm sure they'll bring back the little. I like to call it the D2 scoop, because if you've ever seen those Beetleweight Wedgebot kits with the angled sides, that's what it kind of reminds me of. Just a big anti-spinner plow.
Well, they didn't need it this episode.
I kind of thought they
Yeah,
would have wanted it for that first match, since they were fighting 2 spinners and they couldn't get underneath Sabretooth. But
I would say is that the scoop is the normal scoop is just the right slope for a drum, especially Sabretooth's drum. It was the perfect shape.
It just seemed like it was having trouble getting underneath everybody in the first matches, and then all of a sudden, it looked like it started to get his groove, and pretty soon, floop, 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 boom, out of the arena, and then a couple floop, 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 into the pits. So, there you go.
Yeah. and are we doing what? So we do the first fight or something, or are we going over the robots?
We go over the robots first, and then we go over the fights. So, we've talked about the heat winner, Behemoth. I never thought I'd get to say that again.
2 words that never go together.
Yes.
It's built up a urinating tree legacy of failure over the years, and now it finally has redeemed itself.
Be warned, we're going to be making a lot of urinating tree references in this video.
19 years of pain and disappointment.
Though to be fair, Behemoth did win the Winter Tour in 2006.
Oh,
And-
wow.
And it took 3rd in the latest FRA championship. So.
And it did win a whiteboard match.
Woo!
Against Gabriel.
That's something, right? I mean, it was against Gabriel, but still.
Yeah.
It
I
won.
think now that we've gotten Behemoth out of the way, let's move on to the Heat finalist and the number 4 seed. We have a seeding system, and we've seeded Apollo 4th. And it's the Series 8 champion Apollo.
Apollo actually was really. I mean, up until like Heat final, I mean, they were actually They were doing really well in that heat. I mean, hands down, that heat final was my favorite battle of the heat. I mean,
let's just say Apollo was the best robot in this episode, but
Yes.
sometimes the best robot doesn't win.
it's true. I mean, I love how upgraded it is. I mean, on the outside, it might not look too much different, but they've definitely beefed up this robot now. I mean, obviously the highlight for me was definitely seeing one of the swarm just go and hit the ceiling.
That was fantastic. It didn't just hit the ceiling; it went out over the wall.
It got a
Yeah.
field
It
goal.
actually didn't hit the ceiling because I was at that angle. I was opposite it when it happened. It didn't hit the ceiling, but it clipped a light, is what it did.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Did the technical crew give that light to the Apollo team and tell them to stop breaking the arena?
No,
Yeah,
what
do
they
it
did
again and die.
No, what they did was get a ladder and plug it back in.
Oh,
Simple.
that's what the
That's
technical.
That's
crew
just
does.
boring as fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Also, it was nice seeing it was nice seeing Alan on the team
Yeah.
after being kept for the past couple of series. Now it's actually nice to see him
The guy
taking
who
orders.
The guy who
orders from
actually built Apollo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy,
he,
yeah.
he was on the technical crew the last 2 seasons, and now they brought him back. And Dave says, "Oh, I've gotten rid of my 2 partners. One guy went to be an actor, and the other one was shown the guillotine. So come on, brother, join me, and let's win another championship.
Oh dear.
Show that there's more than just one Alan Young in this sport."
I like that. That they actually are really good guys. The younger brothers. I think that they are probably two of the best personalities I've seen actually on Robot Wars because they're just so damn funny and their banter is really strong.
Who the fuck asked? Are you awkward? What kind of question is that?
Because the thing about asking that is, in turn, becomes awkward. Like if you ever ask someone, is it awkward? You just create an awkward situation, and you just sort of self-fulfill it, and it's like, no. Yeah. How would you answer that question? It's a really stupid question to ask.
Why would they even edit that in?
Well, as Mick
It's
Foley...
Considering what they edited out as well.
Yeah. This just reminds me of last series when they were interviewing High Five, and the only thing they kept in was, what are the wheels?
Yeah, here's the thing I'll say. Would you rather have seen that awkward question or Apollo fight Kill-A-Lot? Because that happened and that wasn't in the episode.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Apollo to take on Kill-A-Lot, and it never happened.
It did happen. It was in the fight with Swarm and Apocalypse. After it took out both of them, it made a beeline for Kill-A-Lot.
Did he try and get him over?
He actually got so close because he got under the left track.
Oh.
And then he got under the left track and Kill-A-Lot. They fired the weapon, but Kill-A-Lot reversed off and then drove forward. So then the flipper was stuck in between the tracks.
Oh.
And then it was just a power battle. And because the pit was down and a Kill-A-Lot was really close to it.
So they would rather show about 10 minutes of a jetpack than show Apollo trying to flip a 2,000-pound bastard on his side? Come on.
Yep.
What's more exciting?
All I would say is, I wish I was there. I wish I had recorded it because it was a really good fight as well because Kill-A-Lot was driving like this was like if a House Robot Rebellion went on because it was going on for like 2 minutes. These two going at each other.
The good news is Apollo still has a chance. They're into the big 10 robot clusterfuck at the end, so we'll see. Maybe he's already taken out Goliath and Dead Metal and Shunt and Matilda. Maybe he'll finally flip that fat bastard over.
The Royal Robot Rumble.
All I'll say is the Royal Rumble is some teams have a pact.
Oh,
Really? Oh boy.
And it's not it's kind of, just think All Stars Series 7.
Oh no! Oh, it's gonna be fun.
That sounds amazing.
Well, speaking of good luck, let's move on to the person who managed to take third in this episode, and it's from a guy who, for years, we've said pray for Gabe, and now that he's gotten his win, he's now turned into the biggest heel in Robot Wars since Danby.
I don't think we have to pray for Gabe anymore.
Nope, it's Sabretooth.
He just needs to pray to get his drum working. I mean, that would be perfect. The only time it ever worked really was in the swarm battle where it actually worked for. I actually managed to do something for a lot of the time. The other times it would like work in the first 10 seconds and then have to push all the. I mean, it had a good pushing power, but its drum itself was just.
It looked like it was having issues.
I mean, if it was working against Apollo, they could have beaten Apollo. Honestly, if they got a good nip.
They spent that entire fight just running away from Apollo after.
It's Thermidor 2 and Mighty Mouse all over again.
I love how Jonathan Pierce said, "Good driver, Gabe." He's running away.
Yeah, he's just literally running up. He said it as there was a wide shot of the arena, and you could see it just like making a beeline for the house robots, while Apollo was like it was like some kind of cartoon where chasing after like Dennis the Menace, like come back here.
After he'd driven it into the CPZ like 3 times as well.
Yeah.
Also,
I got another question for us. What the hell's Gabe on in this episode? Was he like on? Like, hit it, kill it. Like I remember there's one that made me laugh where the guy driving, I forgot his name, the guy who was driving Sabretooth. When they went against the Apocalypse, like you could see, even he was like, calm down. Jesus.
He's sealed out. That's what's happened. He's gone cocky, and now that he's actually got some wins under his belt, he's now desperate to win this entire series.
I mean,
technically win under his belt.
In his promo, they had him looking at the camera and then speeding away in his car.
Yeah. Only the Rapid people could probably outdo this guy in terms of, or either Rapid or Dave from Carbide could outdo him in terms of smugness.
Oh, come on. We all know Craig Danby's the greatest heel in Robot Wars history.
What? Oh, well.
Can you repeat yourself, Alex?
The smug levels are overloading the meter.
Yeah, you can tell that there's some bad blood in this heat. You see everybody, they got these ugly looking faces. They're like, oh, what are you looking at, cameraman?
I have
my job.
I have actually one complaint about this new format is most of the times when it felt like Angela and Dara were walking over to talk to the teams on the table, it felt scripted.
Well, you know what? It's still less scripted than the Megabots special they did.
Oh.
Shots fired, baby. Well, I think we pretty much covered Sabretooth. Gabe got some wins, but it wasn't enough to topple the mighty Apollo. So I guess we'll move on to... I'd say these are the biggest stars of this episode.
Oh, you stole my line. I was going to say, they were the real heroes of this episode.
It is the Swarm.
I all wrote these robots off as saying, they're tiny, they're not going to do anything. They did really well.
Particularly, I'd say the best combination was Blender and I forgot what's the name of the one that's invertible with the wedge.
I have no idea.
That was the fifth one they never gave a name.
Yeah, just call him Wedger. I don't know.
What's the name of the fifth beetle?
Call him Mini Wedge of Doom.
Inverter. That'd be a good name.
Inverter. Wedger.
Wedger. Well, what his name was, the Wedge one and Blender, those two combined seemed to particularly Blender was he ripped off the face of a president. I mean, that was a highlight in itself. I mean, my favorite also was when it hit Behemoth that first time, it went halfway across the arena.
Yeah, it's got some power to it.
It really does.
Let's put it this way: it trumped Donald Trump.
Yeah. Hey, the only problem with, and actually here's the thing: if you look at it because they're in the King of Bots, they've got 3 of them in King of Bots.
Oh.
Their team.
The one thing that I was always puzzled by Pinza though, which I because since it's a featherweight fighting a bunch of heavies, I had a feeling it wouldn't be able to grab onto anything. It managed to grab onto Donald. Was it Donald Thump?
Yeah,
and then what?
That was amazing.
It just grabbed onto Donald Trump and then couldn't do jack shit.
I mean, there were many obvious jokes with Trump and grabbing, but I think they're too low-hanging fruit, honestly.
There was a tiny hand grabbing onto it.
Actually, the funny thing about Pinto with laugh is it was just when they only attacked Donald Thump when it was dead. It was just lying there and just went, eh.
Yeah.
Also, how many times did the Pinto just fall on its back?
Every battle, I think. Actually, right off the bat, Rubber Duck, when Apollo slammed into it, just flipped over.
Here's a question: what the hell how did that anti-spinner thing work?
It was supposed to. I think it was supposed to like entangle spinners with the bits of the tire. I think.
What it was supposed to do is the windmill wasn't really fixed to anything. So when a spinner hit it, it would just spin round and just waste the energy. So it would just be useless.
Oh, so it's a fidget spinner.
No.
No, not yet. It'll be a fidget.
No, wait to Heat 5 for that.
Oh, please, no.
When is someone going to enter a Nokia brick phone? That's what we need to have in Robot Wars. That would just win everything.
No, they're too powerful. Not allowed in.
You know, I was at the.
You're giving Dave Laurie ideas.
You know, I was at the Franklin Institute Robot Combat event yesterday. Somebody built a robot out of a VCR.
What?
Nice.
Yeah.
What was it?
Sorry,
what was
I'm
it?
sorry.
Its
I'm
weapon.
young.
Its
What's
weapon
the
was.
VCR?
Its weapon was a little. It was a little drill that was attached onto it with with wire and a couple rope ties. And the funny thing is,
tell me it was tracked, so it could be tracked.
It was on wheels. And the funny thing is, it actually won a match after the drill fell off the robot and its opponent got stuck on it.
Yay!
Entanglements.
Default.
Please, what was it? The name of the VCR robot?
Be kind. Rewind.
Oh,
It's
come
even
on.
better.
I would have just called it Wreck.
But actually, one thing I just like about one thing I think if we move on to something else, I don't know if we are, but like one thing I was about the Swarm also is just I absolutely love the teamwork. Like in that last battle against Sabretooth, I love that they put Rubber Duck on the flipper to self-right it.
Oh, that was brilliant! I love that spot.
Yeah.
It was so cute. And also again, I love Sam as well. I mean, like keep going. And I love it, just keeping positive. I love that. Just,
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see the Big Brother teamer back. Although,
unlike little Joe, he can actually talk.
oh, come on, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe can cut a promo.
He can say 2 words without stumbling. He does more than flick a switch and say, we're going to flip out.
he is 13 after all.
The deadly spikes.
Yeah. And
We got the
deadly spikes.
Hell, even JP made fun of it.
It was kind of weird. He looks exactly like Joe, except with long hair.
He looks like a girl version of Joe.
Oh,
Isn't that Ellie though?
Did you just assume his gender?
You think he's trying to be his sister?
I gotta say though, he looks a lot like Joe Watts.
He does.
He does.
It's funny. Since Joe's probably about in his 20s now, that they needed another one. So
Yeah,
I think
he's now Ginger. It's Joe now Ginger.
speaking of Ginger. Let's move on to the next robot who is in this heat, who made quite a kafifi of this episode, and that is Donald Thump.
It's gonna be big. It's gonna be very bigly.
It's going to be bigly.
I love this guy.
Oh,
I hear it was such a shame it didn't make it into the final 4 because I was kind of worried when I first saw the fact the weapon wasn't working. I thought, the whole robot isn't working.
Actually, that's what you don't see. Like, it wasn't just the weapon that was. But for that fight against the Swarm, it was delayed for nearly an hour because first Donald Trump, the speed controller for the drive wasn't working, so they swapped out the weapon speed controller for the drive speed controller, and then. And then one of the 2 of the mini bots for the Swarm broke. so in between that,
so it was an hour-long postponement.
Basically, yeah.
Cripes on
It was
Blender that broke.
It was the greatest. It was the greatest delay ever. You know, people say that there's been better delays. I disagree. It was the greatest.
Did they have any matches to throw in between? Any whiteboard matches? Or
No,
anything?
because both robots were in the arena at the time.
Oh wow.
So when they broke, what happened basically was the Swarm got up to the starting light, everything was fine. Then Donald Trump got to the starting light, and then it just sped off forward.
Keep saying Donald Trump.
I mean,
it ran into the wall because. He wanted the wall.
You know that footage of it spinning round that they showed? That was him trying to slow it down.
Oh right. It was such a shame though. 'Cause, I mean, if you take away all that kind of satire part, it did actually look like a robot that could have maybe done decent amount of damage.
Technically, it's the robot that took out Sabretooth.
Yeah, because if it wasn't for them damaging the side, they would have been invertible, and they would have actually won the battle. Actually, so actually they're the ones that made it go to a judge decision. Even though, actually, what actually happened to Donald Thump in that battle? I mean,
it just died.
Yes,
it
because
just died.
I didn't see anyone hit it with. I'm just like one. Well, it went out of shot, and then like about a few seconds later, you just see it dead. And I'm like,
maybe the radio just went out or something.
Maybe it might have been something.
That was the biggest problem he was having throughout this. Was the speed controller kept blowing out.
Yeah, he had a problem with the live circuit as well with the speed controller, from what I've heard. So yeah, it might have been that, but it was a
What we've
shame.
learned is this guy can't do speed controllers. That's basically what we've learned from this episode, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Take advice from Rory Mangles on how to make your speed controllers.
Let's be fair. A lot of things that Donald Trump has been president for almost a year, and
Good
Christ.
God, that's
Yeah.
Yes, he knew Sabretooth was there, and he still went after it.
yeah.
And he still died, and he got his face ripped off.
Well, but what would have been really funny if the speed controller blew, it was one of the Sabretooth speed controllers.
Yeah, but that was Donald Trump. It was fairly solid, but it didn't really live
I
up
want
to its
to
name.
see more of James Davies after
Yes.
that.
Have you seen the sequel robot? It was at Robots Live this weekend.
What was it?
It was Donald Trump 2.
Yeah, I've seen it's on the wiki. I've seen the rebuilt picture of it. But actually, it's a shame actually because also it's been mentioned a few times in the past as well. But they were going to have a mini bot with this called Nigel Barrage. But
Nigel
unfortunately,
Barrage.
because of weight limits, obviously they couldn't have it in. But I'd love to have seen. Is there any images of Nigel Barrage? Or are they not actually?
No, I
Bring it
don't think I didn't see it when I was there.
Oh, I'd love to see what it looked like. 'Cause, I mean, it was purple, I think, but that was obviously for UKIP. But that was all I knew about. I didn't know anything else about it. But
Also,
that'd be quite
notice
fun.
he didn't put the straw hair on. Like he put it on
'Cause it was
specifically to
entangled.
set it on fire.
It was just he didn't want it to get all tangled up. So
it was mostly a prop, really, the hair to make it more like Donald Trump, really.
Tell you
But
what,
He really should have put it. He really should have
Him-
put it on that in the fight against the Swarm, because you know if your
The
weapons.
spinner wasn't working, then you put it on.
I think it was just it was a rush of the moment thing, and they didn't have time to go back to the pits and put all the stuff on. So
they
Well,
tried,
as I'm
I mean, after
concerned-
an hour delay, it was getting the battle started, I guess.
that's
I
true.
mean, the crowd were getting pretty restless because it was pretty much like 5 times that the Donald Trump tried to drive up to the light and then just failed.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like
Well,
yeah, yeah,
Him leaving the hair off though was the final straw.
Oh!
Anderson.
I've been trying to say that now for the last 2 damn minutes.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
That was
This is the
work.
first podcast me and Anderson have been on together.
Really?
Yes,
Delightful.
it is. Yes.
Wonderful!
It's team Little Fly sucks versus Team Little Fly is amazing.
No, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. No.
Well, speaking of outdated designs, I think we'll move on to the final robot. Okay, that's kind of dark.
Let's
but,
say, look,
let's move on to what we consider. I like to call it Splinter 2, but it's Apocalypse.
Hey, you take
Everyone's-
that back about Apocalypse being outdated. That
It-
thing was great.
It was
It was
solid.
beating Sabretooth.
it was beating Sabretooth. Up until the chain fell off, it was beating Sabretooth.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
was just... In its first battle, though, it did pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, the axe wasn't working either. That didn't really help. So, I mean, if Apollo flipped it over, it wouldn't be able to do anything. But it ends up doing a chomp lot and burning out a little
Yeah,
bit.
you know when they said they caught fire, it was actually the wheel that caught fire. None of the electrics. It was just the wheel
All
caught
right.
fire.
I mean, I was so unlucky with the second battle though, because I was sat when I was watching that before, almost an hour ago now. I was like, yeah, come on, beat Sabretooth, and then I was like, oh. Then I saw the chain come out, and then I saw the smoke.
Because Sabretooth's drum was working in that fight for the first moment, but they put the axe. If you saw, they put the axe down it and ripped off a belt.
Yeah, actually, because there was something falling off at Sabretooth in that value.
That was the
wedge.
There was the little wedge skirt. That was Sabretooth that did it to itself.
I mean, admittedly, Apocalypse was probably... I mean, it was either... I mean, just looking off them at the bat, probably them and the Swarm were considered the weakest two. But ironically, the Swarm ended up being a lot better than we thought it would. But Apocalypse, while it was winning against Sabretooth, was definitely the one that was a little bit outclassed with some of the robots in the heat.
Yeah. I will say it's a solid machine. It just didn't seem like there was a whole lot of real power in the weapons.
I'm just wondering what his boss is going to do when he got to work. Because
No.
he dragged me into this and we didn't even win. Right.
Well, that's the thing. When you're losing Robot Wars, you basically just got to go home straight away because BBC aren't going to pay for a team that's out. So it's like, oh, you're back early. Oh shit.
I would be afraid too if my boss looked like Father Jack Hackett from Father Ted.
Feck!
Drink!
We lost again.
He also acted kind of like Father Jack because he barely said anything. He just stood there.
Yeah.
Nate almost thought it looked like John Reed for a second when he first saw him. No.
John Reed if he stepped on an electrical wire.
Well, John loves axes, so I'm sure if he might have saw an apocalypse and he was like, bloody hell, another axe! I must see this.
It's me from the future.
It actually does look a bit like Killer Hertz's axe when you see.
Also, I bet some people are going to say he looks like Rick.
There's gonna be the apocalypse, Morty.
We're going to be on Robot Wars, Morty. We're going to be on Robot Wars, Morty.
No, I don't want to go on Robot Wars. I don't know anything about robot combat. Morty, you have to understand. We're going to be on TV, Morty. Morty, it's going to be you and me. We're going to go into the arena. We're going to fight this house robot. It's going to be a lot of fun, Morty.
Let's go.
I don't know, Rick. I see Apollo there. They have to go good flip. No, Morty can beat them, Morty. Just gotta get their axe in there, Morty, and just get them.
Wait for a good hit. Gotta wait for a good hit, Morty.
Let's go get some sauce. Some nice sauce.
Just ignore Gabe.
I don't know what Gabe's on, but I want some of it.
I mean, Apocalypse was probably gonna go either two routes. Either the way it went, where it did well, it did okay, but ultimately was down.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I just seem like improved the design. I mean, obviously looking at something like they could do a shockwave. I don't know, where they make a good robot, a decent looking robot in the first series, and then
they could probably do a design like that. You think how do you think if they made a combination of the design here and they did the shockwave type 360-degree lifting arm, you think they could have pulled off the axe lifter combo?
Well,
maybe
the 360, the arm couldn't go all the way around because it would probably end up blocking the axe.
Or
no, put
the
grabbers in the scoop, maybe that could possibly. I don't know.
Or go glitter bomb. Have two axes.
Yeah, we could try something like that.
Or pink-headed or two-headed flamingo of death.
Yeah, did you guys see that picture? Representing. So that cover.
Those aren't axes, they're grabbers. They're not axes, they're grabbers.
Give me a hug.
They didn't really work, though, did they? Because you could just see them in part of the fight, they were just swinging over.
They kind of worked sometimes, but towards the end of the Sabretooth fight, it looked like they were dangling, so...
I think Apocalypse's main problem, as you saw in the episode, was they were a bit too compact for their own good, because, I mean, just landing on the back KO'd the robot in the Apollo fight.
Yeah. Well, they're still... I'm sure... have they renewed Series 11 yet?
Don't think so. I don't know.
Give it a day or two.
They will. I'm sure they will.
Well, for what I won't actually know. I won't say that. That's stuff I probably shouldn't say. I'll say that at the end of the podcast.
All right. So that covers the robots. Let's move on to the matches. And holy crap, Nate, we actually wrote notes this time.
I know, it's amazing, right?
Now we don't have to bumblefucker. Wait. Yeah, look. If you haven't looked at my notepad right now, it looks like somebody vomited up on it. So,
was that what happened when Behemoth won?
Is that how bad your handwriting is? I mean, Jesus.
It's more legible than my doctor's.
It's about as illegible as the wiki recaps right now.
I mean, I know the Americans aren't really known for their great handwriting because all they do is multiple choice questions. But for Christ's sake.
All right, here what I have written down. Begins with weird, soothing opening intro.
Should we talk about this intro?
Let's talk about the intro before we get into the match.
It felt. You know what I felt? It reminded me of Top Gear.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I thought we were watching Top Gear at first. I thought it was like a promo for it or something.
Tonight, Apollo takes off. The swarm takes off. And Behemoth actually does something.
It's Behemoth,
and
not Behemoth.
Takes off. And it's Behemoth. You say it the way that Anne says it.
You know, Dora at one point called it Behemoth.
Behemoth. Yeah, he doesn't count. Actually, I did like seeing Nuts finally released into the wild.
Yeah.
Like it's still there to this day. You know,
that was actually the Series 9 footage for the team interview that was unused.
Yeah, I saw that. If they do have they done the DVD for Series 9 yet?
They're doing a series 9 and 10 together, I believe.
Oh, because if they do, they need to have special features that show all the video promo stuff.
Yeah,
which,
the unused ones. Yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing how the Draven one went.
Actually, I was quite curious on Miss Nightshade.
We're the best robot ever. We're the best robot ever. We don't need to upgrade it in 15 years. It's just to remain exactly the same. Fuck Jimjamatic.
Hey, I don't know. Apparently, I've done something now, right?
Our crusher is not on upside down.
Yeah.
And we've got the best armor in the world. Sorry, armament in the world.
Armament.
I am so looking forward to your extreme episode review that has King B, Powerworks versus Draven.
I might just get Simon Harrison to come back again just to laugh on
gloves are
screen for
off.
5 minutes and then just leave.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, see if you can get Simon in for the 101 match or something.
I might do that. Yeah, I'll do
Yeah.
that. I might.
Oh god, no! That bring back awful memories for him.
We want to find out what made King B go full muffins in that match.
You're crazy.
So I think so. I'm looking at my clusterfuck of notes right now. It says, "Weird, soothing opening intro. Is that gonna be in every episode?" Then it says, "No stat boards." Because they only showed the stat boards during round 2 and 3,
Randomly,
right?
just randomly.
Yeah.
It was in the redemption round as well. It was just randomly.
Yeah.
And here it says, Behemoth, Donald Thump, Sabretooth, which I spelled Saber. And I have Floor Flipper, Thump hit wall, they all died, Behemoth wins.
Here's the thing that you didn't see in the match. You know when Sabretooth was flipped over by Behemoth the last hit and hit the ground and hit the floor? That broke the arena floor.
He also broke the flipper as well.
Yeah.
Oh, what a
Arena
lovely
defeated.
arena.
So let's just say if we have that's what I say should be like the running theme of this series is the arena break. So we got 2 counts of the arena breaking already.
Yeah, and
Actually, Alex. Well, yeah, because you're saying the first day of filming the arena broke. Was this the fight? Or was it
That was the fight.
That was the fight. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That was the first fight recorded for Series 10.
I mean, it was actually quite a relatively quick fight, though, considering because not a lot of it was just kind of.
There was quite a lot of driving around.
Yeah, it wasn't as much action. It was more just kind of got some hits and then driving around, and Donald Thump just dying on its own.
he hit the wall. He finally found the wall.
He did.
Donald Thump went full Kofifi.
Now, actually, here's the question, right? Well, yeah, I know with the double knockout thing, it was kind of funny because Sabretooth was like trying to move, but they just because Donald Thump had hit the side, they obviously couldn't be invertible.
You can see in the slow mo. For when Sabretooth was trying to spin up the drums to get moving, you could see the arena like wobbling. That's what broke it.
They need to get the guys from like BattleBots or Robo Games to build this arena because I'm sorry, but this arena just sucks. You have
Due to the unique way that the BBC is funded.
it's just like hazards are going flying, the arena walls are breaking, the floor flipper is being
Eating itself.
It's what are you doing, BBC?
You see, making a good arena requires money. And the BBC aren't very good at that.
No, not very much.
So this match, I don't know. I thought the ending was a little bit controversial because Behemoth, for the most part, was just like getting ganged up upon a couple times, and then as soon as they crashed into each other, Sabretooth got flipped over and Behemoth got thrown back. I thought they would judge it up to the point, and then I think
it was judged up to the point that both Behemoth and Sabretooth were knocked out, and they classed it as because actually what killed Behemoth was that hit actually knocked out Behemoth's removable link.
Oh my god! Again with that link.
Yeah.
Put some duct tape on that. Duct tape.
Well, that link should stop. That link should stop trying to find Zelda for fuck's sake, and actually stay in the robot.
Oh, boo!
Sorry, I apologise.
But yeah, the way they judged it because they technically found that because Behemoth was the last robot to touch Donald Thump, that Behemoth KO'd Donald Thump.
Well then.
What?
This was the first fight of the series in this new format, and the judges had no fucking clue what to do because they both KO'd each other.
In all fairness, though, right, there wasn't much to judge on. I mean, literally, like I said earlier, I think literally these two robots, from what we saw anyway.
If you
came
count
into
it,
contact
Behemoth was being the most aggressive, and aggressive is the most highest stacked point system.
Plus also Sabretooth did suffer more damage, albeit with Donald Thumb, but it was still more damage than Behemoth was near the end. But
I can imagine it was quite a hard decision to judge by because the two robots literally hit each other twice.
Yeah, it was mostly just driving around the whole fight anyway, so it wasn't like it was an all-out battle.
It wasn't as hard to. It's still wasn't as hard to judge as say Foxic versus Mr. Speed Squared.
Please do not remind us of that match ever again.
Here's another thing behind the scenes thing. What they do is after the fight, because they now go into the arena for interviews now. What they do is they push the house robots push the robots to the wall so they can remove the removal link and pull the safety stuff in, and then they look at the footage and then have the house robots push them back into where they were.
Dumb. So dumb.
Dum 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 da dum de dum 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 de dum. Why not just have them
I'm sorry. I'm starting to
walk in, pull the removal links out, and then leave the arena again? That's just stupid.
I'm starting to think this show might be fixed.
This is fake news. A lot of fake news.
The show is fixed. The show is fixed. The arena is not.
Hi-oh. The way they do that thing with the arena, it sounds like something the government came up with. It's like, just to waste some more taxpayers' money or something. Just move them in, move them back again. It's fine.
Speaking of the waste, dear God, we've seen the Fog of War for the first time, and I already hate it.
You know what? I got a huge rant saved up for that. So I think let's move on to the second. We've talked about this match for 10 minutes now.
Yeah.
It was like a minute long. We'll move on to the second match: Apollo versus the Swarm versus Apocalypse.
Apocalypse spent a lot of time in the air, and then it happened.
Say it.
Behold the glorious flip of Apollo on Rubber Duck. Behold its greatness. Look at it, you filthy casuals. Behold.
It was a glorious flip.
This was Apollo basically dominating two robots.
Yeah.
Well, actually six.
Dominating everybody.
5 robots technically.
5 robots.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed to have a vendetta against Rubber Duck for some reason, because right off the bat, they ran into it and flipped it over.
Well, that's the thing. Apollo was chasing a duck, and he wanted to make sure the duck could fly.
Yeah.
I've heard of ducks flying south for the winter, but this is ridiculous.
Well, Dave, he made it a goal to eventually get a robot over that stupid wall, and hey, he got it over the wall.
There's a lightweight count, because I wouldn't. No.
No.
He got a field goal.
I just thought they were getting into a bit of a flap.
Oh!
I'm sorry, I'm on form today with these puns. I do apologise.
Well, you know what?
Our reaction is getting less and less for every single one. To eventually, I'm just going to knock. You're just going to have a strange knock at the door, and I'm going to come over and beat the shit out of you.
This is why we needed 5 people on the podcast. We need as many bad jokes as possible.
Indeed.
This is a year of podcasting. This is a year of podcasting between me and Alison not meeting. It's just boiling over now.
Yeah, so basically Apollo sent one of the little bots flying over the wall, the duck. He sent a whole bunch of the other little bots flying. He flipped Apocalypse into Kill-A-Lot and onto the flame pit, and Apocalypse just died.
And caught fire.
And also Pinzer got roasted like a marshmallow by Sir Kill-A-Lot.
And then the Wedge of Doom just drove into the pit, which that was the first pitting of the series.
Yeah.
Yay!
Already
I guess
this pit's being used more than it was in Series 9.
Yeah.
And then
I
an
think it's
explosion
ironic how
of smoke.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
two
one
pittings in one heat.
No, 3
Which is
pittings.
more-
Oh yeah, three
Oh,
pittings.
yes.
Yeah.
3 pitting.
That's more than last series in one heat.
Yeah.
So. To be fair, a lot of the pittings were off screen, but they were by house robots. So.
Speaking of off screen, this is when the Kill-A-Lot versus Apollo fight happened.
Yep, and they decided that wouldn't make good
Why
television.
would you want to see that?
Maybe because they wanted to. Basically, it's the same scenario where Tricerabot pushed Kill-A-Lot into the pit. They were trying to save Kill-A-Lot's gimmick of being invincible.
Now, While we're on this battle, can I just quickly ask a question? What was with
Yes.
JP's pop musician references in this episode? He mentioned Justin Bieber and Hannah Montana.
He's trying to be modern. He wants to
I
let the
am
world know
cool
it's
with
2017.
He's like 6 years too late, for fuck's sake. We were just
I
sitting there
am cool
knocking
with
on
these
at
kids.
school.
I know what these kids like.
Well, he's 6 years too late for Hannah Montana, I'd say. But
What's that meme? Isn't there that meme of like I am with the kids?
how do you do, fellow kids? It's from
Yeah.
Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
He's the slowpoke meme.
I know what the
He's-
kids are listening to
I
today.
know what kids do today.
He's the principal Skinners. He's like, am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
I have to give him credit though. There were some pretty decent puns. I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
he has more.
Unfortunately, we
he has
couldn't
more
really hear
trust
most of
in
them because we were.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we really couldn't hear most of them because me and Nate were talking over the episode while it was going on.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't even know what puns they made, so I wouldn't have got them anyway.
I don't know.
I gotta say, I got a feel for the editor because he's got to edit the Jonathan Pierce, the booth chatter, and Dara and Angela reacting.
Which
Yes, can I just mention as well? That is the dumbest thing ever. Why do we need to have those two reacting to stuff? It just interrupts the back.
It's basically the same thing as the two goofballs and BattleBots. Just cut to a shot of them reacting to this.
This is Robot Wars, not the Fine Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what'd be fun? We need there needs to be a reaction cam for Jonathan Pierce. It's been too long.
That camera wouldn't last one fight.
We need to see him jumping up and down like crazy while watching Carbide.
Imagine what his reaction was like when he saw Bigger Brother hit Hypnodisc.
Well, you could hear him. You could hear in the background like the chair fall over.
Really?
Yeah. If you listen really carefully, you can hear the chair fall over when he screams on the verge of going down. He literally jumped. He clearly jumped out of his chair.
Damn.
Absolutely fantastic.
So yeah, that covers the first round matches, and so Apollo and Behemoth go through, and then we have the hoverboard segment, which went a very long time, and I wrote
Went
on
on
my
too
note
long.
the
It was
hoverpack
stupid.
segment, and I wrote hoverpack segment. Where is our hoverboard? New outfit for a refbot, says Angela.
Low budget Iron Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we saw this, but we didn't see Apollo take on Killot. Why?
Yeah, well.
This isn't interesting. I'm sorry, right? I mean, this is if you're gonna, this is something that belongs on the Gadget Show, not friggin' Robot Wars.
That being said, I understand the point of it because the main reason for Robot Wars is to get kids into engineering. So instead of showing robots, they could have this jetpack thing, which.
Well, unless of course you're on Reddit, then it's all about that damage.
Yeah.
They actually, speaking of which, they actually showed a clip of Craig Charles for BBC Radio right before the episode began.
Yeah. No salt there.
That was subtle.
Yeah, very so.
So yeah, that covers the first round matches, and then the hover pack segment, and then we move on to this. As soon as they started doing these rounds, I was so confused with this format because now we have the redemption round.
These new graphics. Can I just make a point about these new graphics? I feel like I'm
They're
watching
awesome.
I feel like I'm watching Premier League football when you have the team captains cross their arms and stuff.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was saying it's like a friggin' post from a GQ magazine. What's the friggin' point in that? It looks silly. I don't understand. And it's funny because Ant and Pritchard trying to look hard just isn't going to happen.
No, the funny one was watching Ian Watts with a hat.
All I want to say is I can't wait. You know when they have the team intro where they walk out of the smoke. I can't wait for Bucky's one.
Actually, I think the mascot should be the one who does that.
Yeah.
Yes, do it. That'd be amazing.
You just have like these teams walk out, and then in the shadow you just see these big eyes and this huge mouth.
Or about
Oh no, I like it if like I think I can't remember if it was Plunderbird or not, or some one of the teams in the classic series like stood near the judges to intimidate them. I can't remember.
Oh, that was Grim Reaper.
The Chromalot, yeah.
That with the mascot, just having stood behind the judges.
No, it's in the booth. It's in the booth during fights.
Oh, God damn it, that'd been funny.
Well, let's say I don't think this footage will air either. But what they did also do for the walkway segment, just I don't know why they did this, but for one moment there's I don't know if they'll show it, but there's one time where it had Gabe from Sabretooth holding Bucky Mascot's hand and skipping down the runway together.
Oh, they must air that. It has to happen.
I think Gabe took too many happy pills.
Yeah, well, speaking of Gabe, we move on to the redemption round. Sabretooth versus
They obviously
Apocalypse.
ran out for this
Apocalypse
battle,
should have
absolutely.
had this one.
Yeah, this is where I must give my big epic rant. So, they're having the match. Apocalypse starts out on the aggressive. He's whacking Sabretooth with the axe. Sabretooth goes to hit the pit release button, and it looks like it looks like the entire wall area is now just one big button because Sabretooth didn't even touch the tire. It just started off. Though I don't blame him because, to be fair, the pit release tire, it's on the same wall as the driver's side, so I'm amazed the guys in the booth are able to even see it. So he hits the tire. The dial goes towards where it should say Rogue House Robot. And then all of a sudden you hear the goofball announcer say, "Fog of War," or whatever. And then all of a sudden the entire ring fills with fog so that you can't see a damn thing in the arena.
Yeah, I mean, the reason they said, it's supposed to, they said on the AMA that they did yesterday, is like, it's supposed to be like an equalizer. It's supposed to reset everything because the drivers can't see. Well, here's the thing. If the drivers can't see, the audience can't see.
And you know what the most important aspect of robot combat is? Being able to fucking see!
Oh, they might as well have just taken the controller off him for 10 seconds
Yeah.
and then given him back
yeah.
again. That's all
What were they
did.
thinking with this?
This is literally like just having a fishing pole, take away the controllers and for 10 seconds. Like, seriously, how does this make good television? If you can't see jack shit.
I've Robo Wars has had bad hazards in the past. The floor spinner, which just resulted, robots just kept getting stuck on it. That was bad. The floor spikes on the walls, those were useless. The angle grinders, God bless them, they look good. Never did anything.
The goddamn turntable in Series 1. Fuck that thing.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
the
this-
steam jets
this-
that only immobilized tetanus. That's the
Yeah,
only thing
that's-
they've ever done.
This is the worst hazard this show has ever had.
I
saying
thought
it right now.
the thing on the floor was bad, but
There
actually
is
at least
no
KO'd the
reason.
robot at one point.
There is no point for this at all.
It's literally just because, we're not going to use the steam jets this year. Let's just hook them up to the
Heck with
arena. Like, who thought this was a good idea?
Monkeys thought it was a good idea.
Well, I guess I'm gonna play the role of Bobby Heenan here and say, hey, I like this fog of war hazard. That means I don't have to watch these awful fights.
Hi-yo. But I mean, the fight itself, it was very unfortunate that Apocalypse lost in the second half, because the first half they were dominating, and then the chain came out first. And it was running on one side, and then that slam by Sabretooth was really good to take him out entirely.
Yeah.
That's a tornado slam.
Yeah.
And it was at this.
two-wheel drive machine.
Well, two-wheel drive machines can have power to them. Like, look at Apollo; it's two-wheel drive.
But as I say, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah, but in all fairness, that's
we have
okay.
been
So it can raise its opponent's wheels off the floor.
we have been criticizing Apollo quite a bit this episode. It's a damn powerful robot. Like the drive in it is it's a damn quick robot.
Yeah, of course and then we get to the end, and it's here where Gabriel Stroud, who has this one in the bag, finally makes his heel turn.
Yeah.
He just gets he's like, Apocalypse is already clearly dead, and then he's telling whoever the heck he has driving the robot, he's like, get him, and he's like, but he's dead. Get him, I say, hit him.
Hit him.
Kill him!
No, imagine if he
Kill it.
He's
Kill him
having flashbacks to Will Thomas and Aftershock.
Yeah. You're just taking it out on Apocalypse.
Like, this is post-Vietnam, Gabe. This is
Yeah. This is the end.
PTSD, Gabe.
My only friend. The end.
You can only imagine what social media is going to be like to Gabe now that this episode's aired.
Kill him with a non-working drum. Come on!
He's become the reverse John Reed. Forget about waiting for a good. It's just hit him again. Hit him now.
Hit him. It's
Actually,
like the opening of Jurassic Park. It's like, shoot her.
It's gone from waiting for a good hit to trying to stop him from hitting at this point.
So, yeah, Yeah, that covers the redemption round, and basically, so this format's so screwed up. So
we haven't done the Swarm and Donald Thump though.
well, that's next. But so it took me a while to figure this out, but now I understand it. So whoever takes second in the first round matches goes into the redemption match, and whoever wins that gets back into the winners bracket.
Basically, yeah. It's also the case of like whoever comes second in one melee fights who came third in the other one.
Oh, I'm still confused with this new.
Because technically the Swarm were still mobile before Apocalypse went out. That's why they fought Donald Thump.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah,
because Donald Thump died first, didn't it? So
Yeah.
Donald Thump was third in his melee, Swarm was second in its melee.
they
Yeah.
fight each other, and vice versa. The other ones.
I am so confused with this format. Not even my notes are helping.
Actually, I understood when that. I think it's when it started going for the heat. I was like, oh, I get it now. I get
You've
it.
just got a board with loads of string around. It's like, and then this one here, and then here is over this one.
It's like that meme where the one guy just like all the conspiracy theories just like stood there. This is how the judges going. This is how you think the series works. This is how we see the series working.
Going retro with this. I'm going
Well,
retro with this reference, right? Okay, Nostalgia Critic AVGN secret message video where he gets the long hair and he's doing the Da Vinci Code shit. You know, or Jehovah begins with an I in the Latin alphabet, and then at the end it's like lick my shit Nostalgia Critic, but backwards, so he has to see it in a mirror. That is what his room currently looks like. There's papers everywhere.
All I can say, we're one heated, and I already prefer this to the round robin.
Definitely.
Oh, definitely. Because you know what? It gives every competitor in this episode another chance, more chances. Mm-hmm. So it works.
And more chances. That it's stupid.
It means your favorite robot, Hobgoblin, will get another chance. And the potential.
Hey, if it loses, man, I'm gonna cry. Like,
because us guys over here in the U.S., we all use the double elimination format. So if you lose a match, you get to go into the losers bracket and keep going. And so it's kind of like that, but just with a little more.
It's basically the redemption bracket is you win it, you get back into the main contest.
It's all like the losers melee. They just started doing a series 5 onwards in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
In a way, in
the first Dutch Wars.
I guess we'll move on to the other redemption match, I guess you can call it. Donald Thump versus Swarm. Now, I'm gonna say this. How many cameras do all the house robots have now?
I don't know. Have you noticed something? Have you looked at Shunt's axe? I think there's a GoPro on it.
Dead Metal has.
If you look at it, I think there is a GoPro on it.
What?
No
Dead Metal has 3 cameras on him. One's on his side, one's on his claw, and one is on his back now.
Dead Metal's a she.
Okay, he's a girl.
No,
it's
it's
a
not.
she.
It's always been. No, robots can't have sex changes.
This is what happens. You know that Robot Wars Teen
Make
Titans.
sure not to upload this to Tumblr.
You know that Robot Wars Teen Titans picture I had Austin Blevins make, and I had him pair Dead Metal up with Raven? I think I might have jinxed it.
You tempted fate. I don't know. I honestly don't care. Jonathan Pierce, even in this episode, was fawning over Matilda. So,
how do you like Matilda's new hairdo?
I love it.
White. It looks good.
It's very striking. Very striking.
Yeah.
I like it.
Love her Odell Beckham Jr. frosted tips,
You know what
and
it
none
does,
of you got that reference.
What it really does is it shows the level of detail that they put into this new Matilda.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see it with the old paint scheme.
Yep. So Dead Metal has he has the 3 cameras. Killalot has a camera on his claw now.
Claw underneath his chin and on his back.
On his chin, on his back. And Matilda apparently she has a camera on one of her cheeks, and apparently she has a camera on her ass.
Of course.
Make that as we will.
Yeah. Like I said, Jonathan's. Is that a camera just for Jonathan?
Oh my lord. So yeah, basically.
Well, he did say something in Series 8 about wanting to see Matilda's pink tail.
And when we get. When we get Alex Shaky on the show, I'm gonna apologize for him for saying I wanted to see Matilda get her flywheel up to speed, and yeah, that's what happened. She knocked nuts right out. So yeah, basically Donald Thump went completely out of control in the beginning, so they had to go into the arena without the weapon, and they tried, but it pretty much got ganged up on.
Sorry, Donald Trump, but no matter what you do in this fight, you won't be saving face.
Oh!
He'll need a real proper facelift after this. He really will.
He
And a
needs,
little
to,
bit
he
off
needs to fire his dad and get a new bodyguard.
I mean, actually, that really shocked me though. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, I knew the Swarm blend actually had a good spinner, a decent spinner for its size, but my God, it ripped off both the sides of Donald Thumb, and then they took an eye as a trophy. I like
Also,
that.
if you didn't notice, also on Donald Trump, like the Hardocks had padding in between. If you saw,
nice to absorb hits, but didn't really hold up all that well.
Yeah.
It's a unique idea, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, good absorber.
Wasn't much else to the fight though. Basically, Donald Thump he didn't get a second term.
No.
I did like the little, just again mentioned it obviously before with the pins grabbing onto the back, but I also did like the wedge one just trying to in vain push Donald Thumb, but it was just like.
Oh, by the way, here's another note you should have put down on your notes, but you didn't. When they were interviewing Apollo, did you see the Burn Robot Burn sign?
That was you, wasn't it?
That was me. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, we weren't watching the background.
Well, when I rewatch the episode on Daily Motion, I'll be sure to screen cap it for you.
Oh yeah, because you're American, you don't get BBC, you don't get BBC.
No, I do not.
How
It's
the hell
either-
did you watch this?
We have a live stream.
Yeah, we watch it by other means.
Yeah, I'm not.
You are a pirate.
No, it's not.
Har,
It's,
har,
it's not a pirate if we're just watching it.
Yeah. Sure.
It's like we didn't download it or anything.
Oh, I say it's fair enough.
Just gonna
So,
get
yeah.
you're gonna get the very polite BBC police rounds.
So yeah, basically, Swarm grabbed Donald Trump by the and won the match.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the other.
They sure did grab a pussy.
Also, if you didn't know, if you did like I said in the gym podcast, as you saw in the team interview, there was he stood on a box that was taller than Dara. No other shot is he taller than Dara apart from the interview.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I forgot about that. 'Cause for a second I thought, oh my God, he's tall.
Yeah.
So what do we get? So that covers the Donald Trump Swarm fight. Now let's move on to Apollo versus Sabretooth, the wacky dancers versus the wacky guy with the hair.
This was basically a 2-minute fight of Apollo trying to chase after Sabretooth after the spinner stopped working.
I said that Gabriel versus Crackers the Smash would be Tom and Jerry. This was Tom and Jerry.
This literally was Tom and Jerry. I mean, we have a robot called Roadrunner and Coyote later, and this is still more Tom and Jerry than it. But it was just a matter of time. I thought. I mean,
All you need to do is play the Monty Python Nice and Holy Grail. Run away! Run away!
Run away! Run away! Run away!
The flip itself, though, what made me laugh is I was kind of hoping that Sabretooth would get stuck on top of the wall, just kind of lying there.
Yeah, I thought it would just be it would do the thing on the wall.
Now
how Spawn again did in series 6 or 7. It did that.
7.
Series 7.
Yeah, series
Now
7.
you can't.
You can't stand there all day.
Now you can't just sit there all day. Thump. That's
I wonder
better.
how loud that explosion of Splun again was. Because that must have been ear-splittingly loud when it happened.
couldn't be any louder than that foghorn, was it?
There wasn't a foghorn when they actually did it in the live. It was just the gas jets, which were insanely loud.
Oh boy. Well, it's only been used once, and so far I want it scrapped, gone, deleted.
I prefer the old Robots intros anyway.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think this was the Apollo versus Sabretooth fight, and I'm looking at my notes right now. This was when they first started showing the stat boards, wasn't it?
No, they showed the stat. No, this is when they had Jonathan go into more detail about the robots.
Yeah, it was like the turntable bit with the detailed stuff.
Which it was weird when they did it because this was just poor editing from my point of view. Is where they showed the stat boards, then they cut away from the robots, and did show some other stuff, and then showed the stat board again.
Yeah, I remember. I noticed when with Behemoth, it was like showing the same stat twice, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And it was kind of also because of some of the editing, like when after Dara and Angela did the intro stuff at the beginning, it went straight into like the robots. There was no kind of like now start the melee. It was like, oh, hello, Behemoth. No, I guess
and
we're
the
starting.
interviews are even shorter.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
editing.
But Sabretooth got flipped out of the arena, and
Second Uter of the series. Actually, how many is that for Apollo?
actually because of the way that they
One 2, 3, 4, I think.
Yeah, it's 4.
It's
I mean,
4.
I know you think Alex, they used to they move the okay, the judge decision, they move it and then come back. Did they have to get Sabretooth into the arena and then flip it out again?
No, because if you saw, the Apollo was stuck in the barrier, because the barriers go down, Jim, they go down. Sabretooth was stuck there, so they basically just a very nervous stagehand had to go in and remove the link. And the problem was also it also blocked the because the way it was angled, it blocked where the stopping bar could go for Apollo's drum, for Sabretooth's drum.
Actually, I remember Gabe was really rushing to get to the robot, pulling the doors open just to get to his robot.
Yeah, no, that's not true. What they did was they had the team go in, secure the robots, then close the doors again.
Oh my god!
Oh Jesus!
Like I said, it feels scripted because it is.
Yeah. There's no reason. There's no reason to do that, but yeah, the battle was mostly just running away and then the inevitable happening sooner or later. Really.
To be fair, if Sabretooth's drum was fully working, I think it could have had more of a chance because it got some good shots on it.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a revelation. If the weapon was working, we'd have more of a chance.
Well, considering that it's a drum spinner going up against sloped edges, I'm not so sure on that one. All it needed to do was
nip the edge, because Sabretooth's drum is low enough to nip the edges of the wedge.
That's true.
I mean, but also what I say is what I don't get is also because it's Sabretooth is the drum's driven by 2 belts, and I don't get how shouldn't it be if one fails, at least one can still work or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe it was off balance or something. I don't know.
That might be the case. I think it's 2 belts to keep it from gyro dancing.
Well, that covers that match. Apollo goes through to the Heat final, and we move on to Behemoth versus the Swarm in what also happens to be a grudge match. It's Behemoth versus the Team Bigger Brother once again.
I gotta say, this was a very strong performance by Behemoth.
This was basically Braun Strowman taking out 4 jobbers.
Yeah, it was Behemoth was just kind of just cruising around, flipping the robots over and stuff. I love that bit with Blender going flying after.
All I say is, in between season, Anthony's got very aggressive at driving.
You know what? I don't blame him. He
wants to win this time.
It's like in between series, he was visited by 3 spirits who told him, "Don't let last year bring you down. You got to keep going." The
spirits of Chaos 2, Hypnodisc and Razor.
Yeah.
Oh, don't prove that you're not a scrub. Kick all these little bots' asses and get through to that grand final. Get that trophy.
You're the last of us. You're the last of the old guard.
And he did. He did kick them all out, and he even got the nameless wedge out of the arena.
I was actually. Could you imagine if he actually managed to get both of them out at the same time?
What I say is that was a really good out of the arena as well, because it was like a slam against the wall, it was kind of in some kind of way like Storm 2 against Steel Avenger, where he just slammed it against the wall.
Yeah.
And if you also notice, they actually put guardrails in between the hallway there, so I guess no robots fell out of there. And yet the little featherweight still fell behind the rail.
Yeah, they're more safety for the crew.
Wow. It looked like it fell on a bottomless pit for how small it was.
Yeah, because the reason why they're there is because they're doing interviews in the arena. They're walking into the arenas now. It's BBC Health and Safety gone mad.
Yeah. Well, it could be worse if Blenda had been flying out there and its blade was still on. That would have been pretty nasty.
A big heavyweight spinner flying out the arena in Series 10. Nah.
You also have to give props to Pinza because it looked like its lipo battery burst.
It carried on going even when it was on fire.
It looked like a birthday
let's
candle.
Just say that the crew had a fire extinguisher for a reason, and Pinza was very quickly exited from the arena after the fight was over. That fire didn't stop.
Put him in a garbage can, fill it with sand, and just leave it in there for an hour.
Throw it in with Chomp-a-Lot.
Pinza was a trooper. Kept going.
Yeah, it kept going.
It was the red pick. It was I don't know if anyone here watches Chugga Conroy's Let's Play, and I know Chugga is probably gonna get triggered if he hears this, but it's like Steve the Red Pikmin, that little red Pikmin trying to carry a big object all by itself.
I don't think any of you got that reference, because I haven't either, because I don't watch Chugga Conroy. Because
Yeah,
I'm not cool.
I've watched
Eh,
one Let's Play of his, and that was his Luigi's Mansion one.
I only watch the Runaway Guys when they do it. The three of them. I'm not really much of a fan of Chugger.
and I don't think I've even heard of him. So there you go.
I watch Markiplier. I'm not
I
ashamed
watch
to say.
Chugger for
Oh
Pokemon.
God!
Come on, he's funny. He's better than PewDiePie, I'll tell you that right now.
Well, not me. Mate, having your face ripped off is better than your PewDiePie, but you know.
Yeah.
At
Well,
least
being
Markiplier
Donald
hasn't-
Trump
at
is better
least
than PewDiePie.
At least Markiplier hasn't been caught saying the N word 3 times now.
not yet.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be Jacksepticeye who is just Irish noise and nothing else.
Yeah, he's
That is-
mate.
Yeah, that's what he is. I mean, from the first millisecond he starts and wanted to shut up.
This robot.
Hello, everybody. It's me,
Yeah.
Jack
This Robot
Skepticeye.
podcast brought to you by YouTube. YouTube. We're full of annoying
And
pricks.
here's where I add another ad. Commercial break. Here's an ad for Geico Auto Insurance or whatever the heck the guys get over there. You know what? You know they actually had YouTube ads for with Carbide in them.
Really?
Yeah, they were. It was some kind of machine company, and they had
RC Robotics.
Carbide boys there. They were. Yeah, I think that's what
I think
it was.
they're Carbide sponsors, I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, Behemoth makes a heat final again, and now we move on to. I guess this is the third place playoff.
10 series of Robot Wars, and this is the fourth time
Yeah,
the
fourth.
Behemoth has made a heat final.
Series 3, Series 4, Series 8, and now Series 10.
Yep, and now we have the third place playoff, and the winner qualifies for the 10 round wild card rumble at the end. Sabretooth versus Swarm, or as I like to call it, you know what I like to call it? Revenge of the Floor Dildos.
Yeah, just like Thunderbirds, wasn't it? Just launched out.
Good God. So that's 3 times. 3 times that Mike's going to love this.
Yeah, Mike does like his floor dildos, so this will
The
be.
floor dildos got a little too excited.
They prematured.
Actually, I think they must have taken some of those jets from that guy who was Iron Man from before. Just put them on the bottom.
Well, I mean, I did say in the preview that the spikes have got a lot more powerful. This kind of proves it.
Yeah, they're over powerful. But actually, we got to see Sky for the only time in the series.
Yeah,
And it did jack shit.
It did jack shit, yeah. It got rammed against the wall, and I think that's pretty much all it did in the entire heat.
It got beached on the wall, actually. 'Cause you don't-
A Sabretooth is, even if its drum didn't work, it's a very effective rammer.
Yeah, it was fun. I will say. Is anybody there? Is everybody there?
Yeah, it was all there, yeah.
All right.
No,
I
I'm not here.
will say this was a pretty fun match regardless. I mean, you had Sabretooth and all the little bots flying onto the floor flipper. One of them actually used the floor flipper to flip
Yes.
Rubber Duck back onto.
That was lovely.
That's
I
one
want
way to
to
use
say
the floor
also, the Sabretooth drum worked for the first minute, at least. I mean, that hit it got on Blender. It sent it halfway across from one end of the arena to the other.
Blender's weapon as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun match, and Sabretooth managed to KO them all, but it still managed to go to a judge's decision.
Because they were all KO'd, but they weren't counted out. The match ended before they could be counted out.
Oh, I see. But it was kind of obvious he was going to win anyway, let's face it.
Yeah.
They couldn't...
It's like TR2 versus Carbide. Carbide was going to be counted out, but the match
Wasn't dead for 10 seconds or however
At
long
least
it
this
is.
time, Sabretooth got a wild card potential and didn't get completely destroyed, so...
Yeah, so.
Nice to see that happen for a change.
Now
just
we
got
had-
the damn weapon working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now he has
it's-
to deal with, I would say 10 Robot Rumble, but you never know. There might be a lot of bots with their little mini bots with them. So, could you imagine if the Swarm had won the match? It would have been a 11, 12, 13, 14 bot Rumble?
The max you
13
can
bot
have,
Rumble?
because if you count, there's the Swarm with 4, there's Nuts with who have the 3 robots.
3.
The keg
Got
too.
The Kegs are 2, Coyotes 2, Crackers and Smash, Coyotes 2, and Expulsions 2.
Oh yeah, Expulsions too. That's quite a lot of robots.
Yeah.
That's about
Here's the question: how many frequencies can a controller have?
I think you're unlimited because everybody's using those Spectrum controllers now. Because I go to Motorama, which is like the biggest robot event in the Northeast, and the Beetleweight Rumbles has at the most 17 robots running at once. It's insanity.
But yeah. Yeah, all I'll say about this 10-way melee is some teams said, I mean, obviously they were joking when they said this, but they said there's part of us that don't want to win our heat because we want to be in this fight.
I don't blame them. It's going to be... I think the first round match of the Northern Annihilator may have some competition as just being the biggest, craziest Robot Wars match of all time.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely outshine it.
Or
10 robots.
Smidsy Warhog come and get Eric's and send aggro for what the fuck is going on.
Or the Series 7 All-Star first round with Cat 3, Bigger Brother,
it was just a house robot rebellion just taking out everybody. So
The only worry I have about the 10 robot rumble is that I just hope it doesn't there might be too much going on. Like, it might be hard to follow.
It's 10 robots in Kill-Loss.
Maybe they'll have a split screen. Just have a bunch of cameras going on.
I just can't wait for how much coffee Jonathan's going to have for that.
Oh my lord!
Do you think he'll actually breathe throughout the battle?
It'll just be him screaming, "Robot Wars! Robot Wars!"
Actually, after all the commentary, he'll just get a bucket and just splash loads of water on his head, and he's like,
or maybe he'll have Stefan Frank as a special guest commentator.
Oh, Anderson's gonna be excited about that.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I hate Stefan Frank.
Oh wow. You would prefer the Dutch commentator? Technical fucking
Obviously.
knockout.
I like it equal.
Anybody who can turn around and say, "Come on, baby, shake that ass at Matilda," deserves respect in my book. You can say that. Watch Elmo's fight against the robot, the one which it lost in the Dutch Wars. Yeah, literally, he says that. Matilda hits it with his flywheel, and he goes, "Come on, baby, shake that ass."
For kids.
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah, I gotta say, we all wrote off the Swarm. In all of our preview podcasts, we pretty much all wrote off the Swarm as being like, oh, it's not going to really do very well. They put up a good fight in all of their fights.
I had a feeling they would beat Donald Thump, because Donald Thump to me just looked like a fodder bot. And meanwhile, you have the Swarm. The Swarm has Blenza, which has a pretty powerful looking spinner, all things considered. You had Rubber Duck, who was able to get a few good lifts on Sabretooth and such. So they're small, but they do have some power to them, and I'd like to see them in a featherweight competition.
So here's my question: how would they improve them if they come back for Series 11?
More spinners.
Yeah, more spinners probably. That would actually be better.
Bring in a vertical one or a drum or something.
Oh yeah.
Get rid of Sky.
Get rid of Sky and get rid of Pinza.
Yeah, those two are the weakest out of the lot.
Throw in a Weta-Kit. They should call Pete Smith, tell him to buy one of the Weta-Kits, which is what Mondo Bizarro is built off of, and just throw it in there, and I guarantee they'll win the entire series.
Well, why didn't you buy Tando, the lightweight the thing that's fast as fuck?
Tango.
Tanto.
That's Craig's little robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could probably do something like that. I look forward to seeing more, hopefully more of the Swarm or whatever Ian Watts has up his sleeves. And now, everybody, we come to what I consider is the best match of the show.
Definitely.
In more ways than one, and it's the Heat Final, Apollo versus Behemoth.
Actually, one thing I want to mention is obviously this fight is clearly, it's a flipper versus flipper battle. And I know Anson will probably might agree with me here, but I love those kind of battles that are all down to kind of driving skill and stuff. And I think flipper battles are the ones that do that. I like seeing spinners, it's still kind of...
You don't need a good driver if you're a spinner.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It does talk to inner child in me, like, destruction. Yeah, exactly. All
things considered, like Carbide and Hypnodisc don't have particularly great drivers.
No, they're decently driven, but they're not. They're not the pinnacle. I mean, they're not like Firestorm. They're not like Big Brother or Panic Attack. These kind of robots that are known in the past for having good driving skills. And Behemoth and Apollo in this fight were really. I mean, there was ups and downs massively in this fight. Like, who was going to win this? Like at one point, Behemoth, failing flips and getting flipped over, and then Apollo gets thrown into the CPZ, and like they're doing the same thing ironically that Behemoth had to do last year, where they have to kind of clutch onto the wall and see where they're going.
That's one complaint I have about the new arena is they can't see.
I love that
turnabout's fair play.
I love how Dave had to stand up to try and see it.
Yeah.
I can't. It's the same thing as I think it was Kane or whoever had to do that during the eruption fight.
Yeah, exactly the same thing, and it's ironic that Behemoth didn't have to do it this time, and they actually used the same strategy that Eruption used.
Yeah,
It kind of shows that the fog of war is pointless. If they already can't see half the arena anyway, what's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Filling the arena with stupid CO2. It just gets in the bloody way.
You won't believe how shocked I was, in a good way though.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
when Apollo slid into the pit.
All I can say is, I wish I had a recording of my dad, because I was watching it with my dad when this, and he's been watching Robot Wars with me when I was a kid. It's like, he's one of Behemoth's biggest fans. He basically was just going, finally! Finally!
Nate, you got something to say, Nate?
Oh my god.
Can I just say this? I've said that, you talked about Flipper versus Flipper being a good driven fight. My favorite fight, at least from what I remember, because I need to go back and watch some of the big ones, but my favorite fight of all time is Saint Agro versus Cyros, because that's a great fight between two very well driven robots. I consider it a fight between like two big boxers. They're not trying to say, these two robots aren't trying to get each other out of the arena. They're just waiting for that one good hit.
Mm.
And
wait for a good hit.
And when Behemoth got behind Apollo, we thought, no, they're not. It won't.
As soon as I saw the pit go down, I'm like, oh no. Don't go scuttering around the arena and go in holes in the floor again.
Actually, the funny thing about the pit was I actually forgot the pit had been released.
Yeah,
so I was like, oh shit.
It was just back and forth between the two of them.
So
can I just say that it was a very back and forth battle.
Just flips on each other.
And so
Nate, you want to say something, Nate?
And so when Behemoth got that one flip on Apollo and just sent it skittering into the pit, Brandon and I,
we flipped.
We marked out. We
jumped
out of our
I hope
sips.
you were recording that.
You flipped, no pun intended.
we jumped out of our seats. We were dancing around my room. I did the whole Ray Bork fist pump whenever at the end of it.
It was so great. I mean, actually, one of the things that that was the one fight I was really looking forward to. That was gonna happen. Could have happened in this heat was Apollo versus Behemoth, because it was one of the fights I wanted to really see. Because they're such different flippers as well. They're not like Eruption and Carbide, where they kind of a wedge with a lifter. It's like one's like a scoop and one's like your kind of massive old fashioned.
One's a wedge, one's a brick.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the only way it went the only way I thought that Behemoth could probably win is getting around the back of Apollo, because that is where the ground clearance is. And
you know what, Behemoth, I've been following on the live circuits, and about 90% of its opponents are flippers, like Eruption and Manta and Ripper and all these other things. So Anthony's had years upon years of practice taking on these big flipper bots like this, and at that point, the big plan to just defeat Apollo is not by flipping it out of the arena; it's getting it into that pit.
All I can say is the audience
beating the fuck out of it.
The audience reaction to this fight was a mix between the kids who were growing up with the new Robot Wars and were huge fans of Apollo, and the old-time Robot Wars fans, because you had the kids who were close to tears.
Really?
And then you had the bit of the fans in the other side just jumping up, screaming, going, "Yes!"
Take that, British media!
Actually, the final kick in the teeth for Apollo made me laugh is that when in the ending they kept him in the pit. They could have been
if you notice, Apollo tried to flip themselves out of the pit.
And they just flipped back out.
Okay,
just felt awful.
here's a question.
On the
If
wheels.
Apollo was upside down, they probably
Did they raise the pit, push Apollo to the side wall, remove the removal link, push it back over the pit, and then lower the pit again, or did they just leave it in the pit?
Yes, they did that.
Oh,
What they did was they raised the pit, and I can't remember which, was it Shunt or Killot? It was one of the house, I can't remember which house robot. No, it was Dead Metal. It was Dead Metal pushed it to the far wall, the one that's closest to the judges' table. That's where all the crew is. They pulled out, put the safety bar in, and then the safety bar wasn't in. I forget. I was there in March. It was there in May. So, but yeah, that's basically what they did, because they have to disarm these robots, and that's it.
They couldn't just raise the pit and then lower it. They had to push it all the way.
It makes no sense to me, because I don't think this will air. There's one fight where before the fight started, they were driving the house robots in, and they lost control of Dead Metal.
Jesus.
Dead Metal went Dead Metal went berserk basically around the arena. They had to send in Shunt. He wasn't supposed to be in that fight. They had to send in Shunt.
He's like, calm down, buddy. The match hasn't started yet.
Basically, they used Shunt for what Shunt was built to do, which was to push. He pushed Dead Metal to the wall, and then a very nervous stagehand had to go and disarm Dead Metal. Because it wasn't just the drive; it was everything in Dead Metal was going berserk. Like it was a complete just fuck up.
Well, now Dead Metal needs some counseling.
Yeah.
Again, he's probably needed it ever since Apollo flipped him.
He's needed it ever since he had his sex change.
Oh, Anderson.
That's it. You're banned. You're not on my show anymore.
But I gotta say, it feels so good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this was the Behemoth needed this.
Yes.
19 years in the making.
Now the big question is, can they win the series?
No.
I think they've got a fair shot.
I mean,
it depends on the draw. It really depends on the draw.
Draw.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think this heat has proven that anything can happen. And I mean, anything
sure,
can
absolutely.
happen.
And just about everything happened in this episode. We had hazards going crazy. We had robots going down the pit. Robots going on the flipper. Robots going out of the arena.
Robots going over the arena.
Over the arena.
Robots
the arena falling apart.
We never saw that.
Well, you know what? This is
People being asked if they're awkward.
This episode, this is hands down one of the best episodes of Robot Wars in quite some time.
And all I can say is, if you think this is good, holy shit! Next week.
Yeah.
You know, next week is the Elite Heat, since it has 6 robots, all veterans, most of which are FRA champions.
Except for one.
3 of them are grand finalists from last
3 of them are grand finalists.
Super awesome, mega, ultra, super death.
I consider it the Elite Heat, because you know what? Any of them could win. Big Nipper could win. Carbide could win. Aftershock could win.
Crackers and Smash winning.
Oh, you know what? Crackers and Smash, if they hadn't broken the arena, they would have totally beaten Carbide.
Oh, mate, yeah, come on.
Yeah, definitely.
Carhu.
I mean, I would say after this first heat, Series 10 is already way better than Series 9. Just the format alone.
And I can already see BBC is like going, okay, Series 11 now.
Yeah.
What are we going to do to make it better?
You might think that Series 10's 8 episodes long. 6 episodes. I've just given it away. Fuck.
But they have the World Championship too, no?
It's not a World Championship. It's England versus the rest of the world.
So basically, it's like
World Championship, basically.
Yeah.
So it's just a World Championship.
It's UK versus the rest of the world.
It's a war of independence, but with like somebody from USA, Russia. I don't know the other two.
Ireland.
All I will say is expect something spotty.
Expect something spotty. Expect something very turtley.
Expect something Russian.
Expect something from the Netherlands and Belgium, which I thought were the same country for all these years, but apparently they are different. Confirmed.
Jim, that's because you're an
You
idiot.
thought they were the same country?
No, it's a joke because nobody cares about Belgium.
I was going to say,
you know,
Jesus.
Leo Van Miert, Leo Van Miert, he's Belgian, isn't he?
All else, yeah.
You don't even know.
Hey, don't know.
Mate, Philippa 2 is the only reason why we care about Belgium, let's be fair.
Hey, that and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Fries,
and
Waffles,
from the last series,
and Tintin,
and Dr. Evil,
and the Smurfs,
and Thwack. Actually, no, we don't really care about Thwack.
No, I don't care about that.
But yeah, on a rating of 1 to 10, I'll give it an easy 9.
Yeah, this is a solid 9. The only problem I really have is the editing is a bit messy in some places.
Yeah,
but apart from that,
and I don't like how they put the stat boards in the middle of the episode rather than the beginning.
fucking fog of war.
Oh, the fog of war can.
The fuck of war.
Please, the fuck of war.
I'm with you, Brandon. I'm giving it a 9 as well.
All right, Jim, how about you?
I hate to like a copycat, but yeah, I'll probably give it a 9 as well.
And Anderson, you still alive?
I am still alive, and I'm sorry, guys, but it's a 7 from me out of 10.
Oh, why?
Just because I felt a couple of battles felt flat. That's the reason why. I wasn't a big fan of Swarm versus Sabretooth, and I wasn't a massive fan of Sabretooth versus Apocalypse either. But
you just aren't a big fan of Sabretooth in general, are you?
Well,
I'm not.
I pegged it to win the heat actually in the RoboCast. I actually
Oh,
think them to
well.
win
I
the
mean, that's
Heat.
why you're giving it a 7 because it saves
Yes.
you letting you down.
Don't
Here's the
worry.
question. Here's what you should know. Anderson is the new Craig Charles. If he says this robot's going to win, it's going to lose.
Oh yeah.
Don't worry, Anderson.
Which is why
Hobgoblin
I
will
made
definitely
sure to
make
say,
the grand final.
which is why I made sure to say that Hobgoblin actually lost in the first round this time around.
Yeah, all things equal, Anderson, I just think that Hobgoblin is too good right now.
Yeah.
You're an eating
Mate,
tree reference.
Hobgoblin, right? Are just letting everyone else win.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean,
They're
it
just
goes.
too good.
Make
goes-
sure you have Anderson booked for Heat E. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that covers Heat 1 of Series 10, and we got Heat 2, the Elite Heat, coming up next week, and we'll see how that goes.
It's gonna be a blast.
It's gonna be elite.
It's gonna be wonderful!
So I guess we'll round off.
Here's my. How many times do you think the arena's going to break next episode?
Three times.
No. Carbide just has to look at the arena and it'll break.
You got Carbide and Aftershock.
And then. Oh Jesus.
And then Eruption will flip somebody out of the arena and break a light and probably a cameraman's head in the process.
Actually, no. That's
No spoilers.
No.
No spoilers, Alex. If you spoil anything, you're banned.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, that concludes everything. I think we're off to a good start. Until then, I'm the Hardcore Kid.
And I'm Otaku Nate.
I'm Alex the Kaiju Girl.
I'm Jimjamatic, signing off.
I'm that fat British bloke who makes really bad jokes. See you later, bye.
Loves Little Fly.
Peace out, guys.
Little Fly is Bay,
Little
man.
that was a joke. Good one, Alex.
Peace out and cease.
Dumpster fire!